All right, section 3.8, the Pythagorean theorem. So here is the theorem. This is how you find a missing side of a triangle. So it works, you have to know 2 out of 3, you have to know the legs, and then you find the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always the longest side, or most of the time it's the diagonal, and then your legs are A and B, and they're coming out of a right angle. So your theorem goes like this: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. All right, so we're going to find the length of the hypotenuse to the nearest hundredth. So c is your hypotenuse. So we're going to plug that into our Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to take, we could call this a and this b, but they're interchangeable. You don't have to have one specific side of the triangle be A or B, but C is not interchangeable. So 2 squared plus 2 squared equals C squared. So 4 plus 4 equals C squared. So add that up and you get 8 equals C squared. And then we need to take the square root on both sides. So then the square root of 8 rounded would be 2.83. Rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay, so find the length of the hypotenuse to the nearest hundredth again. So this is C, the longest side. We're going to call this A and this B and plug it into Pythagorean theorem. So 4 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. That would equal 16 plus 25 equals C squared. Add those together, you get 41 equals C squared. And then take the square root of both sides, and you get C equals 6.40. Okay, for this problem, we're finding the length of the hypotenuse to the nearest hundredth, but we have to draw our triangle on a coordinate plane. So I'm going to plot these points first, and it should create a triangle. If it doesn't create a triangle, you did something wrong. So I'm going to plot these points, and I'm trying to find C, which is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to plug it into Pythagorean theorem, but first I need to count the sides of my triangle. So the bottom base of the triangle, it goes across 3 units, so it is 3. And then my other leg of the triangle goes across 4 units. So I'm going to plug those in. So it could be 3 first or 4 first. It doesn't matter. Those 2 legs are interchangeable, but C always has to be equal to at the end. So that equals 9 plus 16 equals C squared. So you get 25 equals C squared, and then take the square root. So 5 equals C. Okay, so we're going to do the same exact thing again. So plot your points. Okay, so if you notice this right here, 13 and -2, 13 is way off of my chart. So I'm going to have to estimate, or I could go by 2s. I could do either one. So I'm going to go ahead and just estimate. So here's my first point. And then 13 down 2 would be way off of my board here. So if I draw my triangle, I'm trying to find C. Okay, this side we could count, and that equals 9. And then this side, we're having to go from 1 over to 13. So what would be in the middle of that? How many spaces apart would that equal? So it would equal 12. So then I'm going to plug it into Pythagorean theorem. So 9 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. So 81 plus 144 equals C squared. And then I add those together and I get 225 equals C squared. Square root both sides. So 15 equals C. Okay, so for this triangle, we are finding an unknown side. So this time we're given C. So this 15 would be C. We're missing B, so that means 9 has to be A. So we're going to plug in what we know. So 9 squared, we don't know b, so I'm going to put b squared equals 15 squared because c equals 15. So go ahead and work through 9 squared. So 81 plus b squared equals 225 because that's 15 squared. So next, this is like a two-step equation. You're going to subtract 81 from both sides, and you're going to get b squared equals 144, and then square root. So b would equal 12. Okay, I want you to pause your video and try this problem. All right, so we are missing b, and a equals 7, and c equals 25. So 7 squared plus b squared equals 25 squared. So that equals 49.
We still have a few kids getting their pictures taken, so please do not mark them absent. And I wanted to double check if anyone still needs to head down to get their.
All right, so 49 plus b squared equals 625. And then I need to subtract 49. So b squared equals 576. And then take the square root. So b has to equal 24. All right. Read through the problem, and I just draw a picture as I'm reading. So Mark and Sarah start walking at the same point, but Mark walks 50 feet north. So I'm going to draw a line going north, which I realize up is not always north, while Sarah walks 75 feet east. So I'm going to go 75 feet east. And then how far apart are Mark and Sarah when they stop? So this is how far apart they are, would be C. So 50 squared plus 75 squared equals C squared, and these are some big numbers. So 50 squared is 2,500 plus 75 squared is 5,625 equals C squared. And then you're going to add them. And then take the square root. So you would get 90.14 equals C, and that would be feet, 94.14 feet apart. Okay, next we have a similar problem, and like I said, I just draw a picture as I'm reading. So 2 airplanes leave the same airport at the same time. The first plane flies to a landing strip 350 miles south, while the other plane flies to an airport 725 miles west. How far apart are the 2 planes after they land? So we're looking for C. All right, so 350 squared plus 725 squared equals C squared. And again, these are going to be really large numbers. Okay, so I'm going to add them together, and I get 648,125 equals C squared. And then take the square root. So I get 805.06 equals C, and that would be miles. Okay, so I have one more problem to add, and it is a problem that comes up on your homework. So this side is 4x, this is 2x, and then C is 20, and we need to solve for x. So we're going to plug this into Pythagorean theorem. So 4x, I'm going to use parentheses, squared, plus 2x squared equals 20, and I have to square it also. So whenever I do this, this goes back to what we learned about exponents. I have to distribute the squared to both the number and the variable. So this is going to be 16x squared plus 4x squared, and then 20 squared is 400. So now I can add my like terms together. So I would get 20x squared equals 400, And then first thing I need to do is divide by 20. So 400 divided by 20 equals 20. And then I need to take the square root on both sides. So x would equal 4.47 rounded to the 100th. Okay, and then this is your assignment.